Servus, welcome to another episode of the Pro Hockey Pod, episode 78. We're back at it again with a coaching series here. I've been really enjoying these, I would say the last couple of months actually, of just, grinding out with these coaches here, whether it was guys in NCAA, major, junior, or youth sports. Happy to have them on every week. And this week, we're continuing it back to the NCAA routes. This guy grew up in the Minnesota area, had a long playing career professionally before transitioning into coaching. He's been coaching for many years now, been at many prominent schools, and now is at a D1 university that honestly is kind of new to D1. They've only been in that they're going into, as recording this, next season will be their third season. Happy to have on the podcast, Garrett Raboin.
Thank you for having me.
Um, Kind of what we always do. Like I always like to start off, just kind of take it back to, your roots there. Going off of Elite Prospects, it says you were born in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. I'll just say the Minnesota area. But like, what's kind of your first childhood memory of growing up there in Minnesota?
Well, I think in actually my parents and they're from International Falls, so that's the heart of hockey up north, and that's where I was born. We moved. My parents are both educators when I was 5 years old, so I remembered being on the outdoor rinks with my dad. Um, Cold days, not always enjoying it. I think it took me uh, three or four tries to enjoy the feel of the ice under my feet. And then once we moved to Detroit Lakes and got started with youth hockey, um, you feel the impact of so many volunteers and people that care about hockey in the state of Minnesota, and the development. It's no secret that it's the strongest development structure in terms of youth in the country, and just really fortunate in a product of a community, a small community that believed in opportunity through sports, the value in athletics, and yeah, uh, pretty fortunate.
Now, you brought up your parents. Obviously, like most of us, they're very important to our lives, and especially getting us involved in sports. But I'm doing some research there. Your dad actually played D1 himself at Providence, and then he was drafted by the Washington Capitals and went on to play some pro there, both in North America and also in Europe, in France, I believe.
Yep.
Was he kind of a guy that just, right away was a big influence for you in terms of like the hockey side of it? Like you mentioned, going to Minnesota, it obviously has a tremendous hockey love there for the game, but also I'm assuming your dad would have been very passionate about you getting involved in the sport, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and I think that was he's always been my inspiration when it comes to hockey and just how to carry yourself. He played, as you said, at Providence College. I think he had two legendary coaches. Pops Ross is a familiar name, not just in Minnesota but beyond, and that was his high school coach. Then he went played for Lou Lamoriello with the Friars. Had an opportunity to play and captain a team to a Frozen Four. And then he played in France, came back to International Falls and started a family and started teaching special education. And I think it was, such a huge part of everything through hockey that I've been able to accomplish, just as he uh, puts it into perspective. And I think that's a big thing. He was always a heart and soul player. He valued his teammates and people. And I know as you climb in hockey, there's just different adversities and frustrations and challenges that help you to grow stronger. But I think for me to be able to have a voice that I trusted like that, and there was no advisors or agents or anything uh, as a part of my come up. It was my dad, and uh, really fortunate because there's trying times and tough conversations that you have as a father and a son. He was my coach, which was in high school, which was new. And but we grew together through it all, and I mean he deserves a lot of credit for everything.
That's always awesome to hear stories like that, the relationship between father and son. Being a Canadian myself, like we have a kind of a system with minor hockey growing up with AAA, AA, single A. Depending on your town size, you might have multiple of each level. Not being so familiar with the American side of it, obviously, I know the Minnesota high school hockey, which we'll get to in a minute. But what was your minor hockey upbringing like?
Yeah, you just played for your city team. I think there's more kids at the youth levels. So for us, it's squirts and then the peewees and bantams, and you try to keep kids engaged and excited as they grow older in the program. And of course, some athletes choose to go and specialize in different sports. But I think in our community, we had about 7,500 people in our town, so a decently, it's a pretty small city. Um, and we played all the sports. We played baseball, we played football. When it was hockey, we played hockey. Lakes country, so we didn't have a lot of ice available in the summertime, but and that's why I'm a huge proponent for kids to play multiple sports and don't specialize early. Is I saw the value not only for myself but for others in playing, playing everything, and it's not just for those that choose the path of hockey. We had one of our goalies ended up going to the University of Minnesota and playing quarterback. It just you see it all over, and Adam Thielen, who's now in the NFL, was a guy that was maybe a better basketball player in high school. You just see uh, how being able to to fit in different locker rooms and use different skill sets you accumulate along the way can help you to really maximize your potential as you grow older.
You brought up such a good point there, and I wondered maybe I'll get your take on it as well. Like, do you think that's really changed over, like, I'd say for the kids now versus like when me or yourself were kids? Like, it was play as many sports as you can. You're always involved in something. Where nowadays, I feel like so many kids are focused on just one sport, and it's 12 months of the year. Like, do you find that kind of similar to what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think there's more opportunity. It's just you can if you want to. There's more kids doing it. I know when I was going through it was I got to play one summer hockey tournament uh, every year. So whatever that may be, I would spend a weekend with some kids from different programs, and we stayed in a hotel, and we got to know each other and had fun. Now it seems that there's multiple tournaments, and it's great. But I also would be mindful, and even in our family, we can't have it take away from commitments to baseball and whatever other sports you've committed to take part in.
No, that's true. I always was a hockey guy in the hockey season, then baseball in the summer off season there, like being a goalie, like, baseball was good for your reactions, catching, hand eye, all that stuff. So it actually worked out well. But back to kind of your career there. You mentioned you went and played for your dad there at the Minnesota high school hockey level. From someone that just has seen the games on TV, how packed it is at the arenas and stuff. Like when you were playing, was it the same kind of craze for the high school level in Minnesota?
Uh, you're seeing the state high school tournament, which is an unbelievable event. I mean, people come from all over to attend it. It's the culmination of all the seasons for these all the hockey seasons for these high school programs and communities. So you're going to see 17, 18,000 fans at the XL Energy Center. For us, we had, our rink was very small. But the fan support, the community support, everyone grows up around hockey, and it's the part I appreciate is the fans know what's going on. They're excited for a block shot. It's not necessarily goals uh, that cross the line and they get excited for. It's really little things that mean a lot, and you draw from their energy, and it's great because you feel so many emotions at a young age and different pressures and now looking from this chair, you see why Minnesota has such a strong presence in college hockey.
It definitely does. I think nowadays too, I just laugh thinking about it. It's almost become like the crazy hairstyle get on TV kind of thing too. You see all these games with
Yeah.
the guys coming up for the starting lineup. But another question I always like to ask people when they come on the podcast is eventually you would go on to play NCAA D1 at St. Cloud, which we will get to. We still have to cover you going to the USHL, but being from the Minnesota area, was there ever any thought about the other route? So obviously the major junior route. I always like to ask that question. I know in America especially, the college route I think is more popular than major junior route. Where me in Ontario was like OHL, OHL, OHL. How was your experience? Was there any thought of that route, or was it always to go to school?
No, I mean I grew up. dreaming of playing one day on the high school team. That was it. And then when you grow older, you're watching college hockey every weekend. That's just what you do. And then the ultimate goal was to play college hockey if I could ever one day get there. The CHL wasn't as popular. Only through the select festivals with 15, 16, 17s did you start to see some kids or play against some kids who had chosen to maybe go that route. Fitzgerald was probably the first one from Duluth East who I knew of that went major junior. But the door wasn't open to come back to college. So for a lot of us, it was never even spoken of.
Yeah, I found that like obviously that rule has just been changed, which we'll talk about later. But I found like when you and I were growing up, it was, a lot of Canadians were going the major junior route. And I myself didn't know much about the NCAA route until later, where maybe in America it was the other way, minus with the couple American teams they have, like for example in the OHL. But after high school, you ended up making the jump to the USHL, which is probably the best tier two, I'll say, junior league in North America. How was that adjustment for you? You end up playing 3 years there, moving away from home, the league itself, and evidently earning a D1 scholarship.
Yeah, it was the most significant jump in my hockey career in terms of the discrepancy between single A high school hockey and the USHL. I was probably in over my head for most of the first year. Had to have been close to a green jacket. Um, it was really challenging. It was eye-opening. I think there was a ton of growth that took place. Settled in more year two, and then the I really felt like I became a player, and it was able to find some traction in my 20-year-old year three. Um, all spent with Steve Johnson in Lincoln. What a great city for junior hockey in the Midwest. We finally were able to get back into the playoffs and win a series, and I think there was some momentum personally that set me up for when I got to St. Cloud State to just feel like I belonged and like I was ready for that next challenge. And I was coming in late. I committed in the playoffs of my 20-year-old. I was actually 21 at the time, and I knew I had to jump over some recruits as Bob Motzko took over and tried to shift the program in his own vision. Um, but I was ready for that challenge. Like I said, I was 21 years old, um, and it hadn't had enough go well for me the previous season to be ready to hit the ground running.
Do you think going as a 21-year-old freshman helped you? Because a lot of times, I know for myself, like as a goalie, I went too young. Like I went at 19 years old. I probably could have used one more year of seasoning in junior and learning how to train both on and off the ice. For example, I was still very young and immature at the time. But did you think you going as a 21-year-old and having those 3 years of the USHL and progressing each year helped you transition to the NCAA game easier than maybe it would some other
Without a
people?
doubt. I mean, it's as challenging as it was, and I understand why kids lose their patience in their process nowadays. To see teammates go to college, to communicate with them throughout a season when you're on a bus and they're on a plane, they're having a blast at college, and you're still grinding it out, driving to Kearney, Nebraska, and all over the Midwest. But now that I can look back, it was the absolute right thing. It was the best thing. It was the most impactful year, and without it, it wouldn't have gone as well as it could have. So, as tough as it was to come back, to go to a fifth tryout camp in the summer, it was all worth it and necessary.
And for someone who's never been to St. Cloud State, I actually played with a guy in France who had went there, I think, just before you got there. But what's the maybe give me some insight? Like, what's the campus like, the arena, the student section, kind of the town? For someone who's never been there, if you were to describe St. Cloud State University.
Well, I mean, it's far enough out of the metro where you don't have the Twin Cities vibe. It's right on the Mississippi River, which is just gorgeous, especially in the fall of the year. I love to hunt and fish, so there's wildlife all over and great fishing right near campus. It's for me coming from a city or a town the size of Detroit Lakes. It was a big city for me. Like we had all the restaurants, we had a mall, it just felt like there was endless things to do, but it wasn't overwhelming at all. The campus is all compact. Like you can walk from the dorms to the rink to the cafeteria, all that. It was a great fit for me. And Midwest people, a lot of Minnesota kids. There was other athletes, a lot who had played hockey through high school. So I think the fan base, the state of hockey, they're just so well educated in the sport. It's part of who we are. Um, Tremendous crowd, just excellent energy, and had a tremendous 4 years there.
Talking to you like as briefly as we've been going on this episode, maybe 15 minutes here, I can already kind of tell like the maturity about you. And leading to my next point here, you were there at St. Cloud State for 4 years. 3 of the 4 years, according to my research, you wore a letter, which I think is obviously a tremendous honor for anyone who can wear a letter, whether it's an assistant captain or captain. You yourself did both. How did you maybe try to lead? Like, were you a vocal leader? Were you a quiet, lead by example kind of guy? Like, how did you lead over those 3 years and maybe see your leadership change over the 3 years too, from starting your sophomore year to ending your senior year?
Uh, why? I mean, the table was laid pretty early on. Like I came in as a freshman. My defensive partner was our captain, Casey Bohr, and I was older than Casey Bohr, which was, it was crazy to think. Like I actually went to Lincoln because Casey Bohr elected to go to college. And we became very close. There was a great group that showed how to lead. I think a big part of it was just um, how you welcome kids in because it's pretty diverse in terms of the people. Once you get to college, they're from all over. They have all different paths and stories, how they arrived there. Um, but how you all come together and start to move as one. I felt accepted. I felt appreciated. I was encouraged. It was there. I felt like there was going to be competitiveness for jobs, which there obviously is. But you also felt like you were part of a team. And we had a great group my first year. My second year, I was an assistant captain, and there was a captain who I continued to just try to support, learning along the way. Then it was my turn junior year, and you, I think that's when a coaching staff comes into play too. And I felt like I had the coaching staff support, and they didn't need me to change, and uh, they didn't need me to be completely on their side. I think they understood that uh, I was closest to the players. I would voice what I felt was best for the group. I respected the coaches. And I was really close to one of the assistant coaches, Eric Rude. We had some real conversations. I think he was almost the captain of captains. And there was just a really good uh, support system. And I think that's why it worked. And I had a great group to grow up with. We were not from the transfer portal days. The group you come in with is the group you graduate with. I had roommates for 3 years once we got out of the dorms. They're still my best friends today. We fought, we hugged, we laughed, we did everything together. And I think through all of that, I think that's like the real value in the college experience, at least for me, is everything that comes with it that never leaves you. The 4 years, yeah, they're great and you love the games, but when we get together now, we we very much so feel like we're kids again. But we don't talk about hockey. We talk about the stories though, and I'm sure you're the same way.
Yeah, I think those are the best memories. It has nothing to do with actually playing the sport. It's
Yeah.
more what happened outside and maybe in the dressing room and that. And those are memories that I'm sure you would agree that you'll see these guys every year, get together and you're saying the same stories that you told the year before and the year before that, but it's just awesome to talk about them again and just brings back so
And
many
they change
memories.
all the time. Someone's always a little bit better than we remember them. or, you know, but it's part of it as we grow older, I think.
Got to keep evolving the story. So, so after your 4 years there, you start your pro career. You end up heading over to Finland, which one country I've actually never played in. Been there just for 4 days. Cool country, but I'm always curious to ask, why did you go to Europe first? I myself did the same thing, and I know why I did it. I'm curious why you did it, instead of maybe trying in North America like a year or two of pro before then going to Europe.
Yeah, I think as you stay connected to teammates that are pursuing professional opportunities in North America, you kind of maybe gain a perspective from them. My family, my dad obviously spoke really highly of his experience over there. I guess it was exciting. I think I felt like the game I was playing at the time could work over there. Um, Man, like again, like my dream was always to just play Division 1 hockey. Like pro hockey was nothing I ever put a whole lot of energy into. Uh, Winning a NCAA tournament game or advancing, into the second round was like the Super Bowl. Um, I was leaving college hockey pretty fulfilled. Um, when it came time to college, I knew I wanted some experience. I'd always envisioned myself being a special education teacher with my summers off, hunting and fishing on the weekends. That's what I thought it was going to be. So it was kind of just bonus time to go to Europe. I married my wife Emily the summer after my senior season, and shortly after we had our wedding, we headed to Finland, and it was, I mean, to get married, to leave everything behind and go just be by yourselves and have to figure it out. I think it was just an incredible experience for myself and Emily, and it gave us a really strong foundation to start our marriage.
And how was your experience, as well as your wife Emily's experience, adjusting to a country like Finland? Like, it is not like nothing you can compare to North America in certain ways. Like, different type of hockey, different culture. Depending where you are in Finland, the different lighting in certain seasons,
Yeah.
because obviously that's something people don't think of with the dark winters and then summers with sunlight for how many hours. But how was your experience and the adjustment going to Finland?
We loved it. I mean, I think we're both similar in the sense like the figuring it out, the newness of it, the uh, just finding your way forward was like really exciting. So the first part of the year absolutely flew by, and then it kind of like you said, the sun goes down, winter's arrived. You're in the rink probably for the only few hours the sun tries to come up. Uh, Holidays are away from family. That's where it starts to get a little long, and you're like, holy smokes! Like I'm used to playing video games with my four roommates. Now I'm sitting next to my wife watching, Sex in the City on DVD every night. Like this is it's a different deal. So it, there's good and bad with it. But by and large, I think it was an incredible opportunity for us.
Did you travel anywhere? Like, they have the November breaks and the February breaks. Did you guys get out and travel to other countries?
Yeah, yeah. So I like my second day in town, I broke my ankles, so I had 3 months on crutches, and we went to Stockholm and different countries and did. I mean, there was outside of rehab, there was not a whole lot to do in town, so we got a lot of the traveling out of our system in those first couple months. I think we went to Dublin. We played in the European Trophy tournament, so we with the team, especially in year two, we flew all over, which was awesome. I mean, you get to travel and play hockey at the same time. It was the best.
I always tell people that, like, instead of doing that North American grind, you go to Europe and see different cultures, see different countries, and as you said, it's so easy to travel everywhere. And then this is something that I'm sure now you look back how many years later being like, wow, that was such a cool experience, and I got to experience it with my wife Emily and all that, and you'll look back on those memories forever for sure.
Yeah, and even how like I've been back to Europe every summer at least once, if not twice, since I started to coach. Um, so there's once you get in the rink, like everyone's the same. Like we might speak different language or have some little nuances, but like the hockey guys are hockey guys, and we all have that similar trait, and that's what I've enjoyed. I love going back.
Did you your second year there? I don't know if you guys just missed each other because you ended up going to Norway. Did you play with Scalzo there?
No, he came in after me.
It came in after you, okay? Because I coached him for 2 years in Germany, so I just saw his name, but I figured because of the game totals, I thought maybe you guys just missed each other.
But now that you mention it, I thought he came in right after me though. Yeah.
Probably.
So, um, but that was a great time. Great time.
What influenced your decision to go to Lawrencegog?
I I ran I kind of ran into a bear. I mean, we had four coaches and the fourth coach, so I started my second year. It wasn't happening. It just wasn't going to work out. So uh, um, I saw that pretty quickly. Um, and you kind of either sit and be negative or else you make a change. And I think all of our imports, we made the change. And it's so fortunate because we went to Lawrence Skoog and it's like the sun comes up. I mean, a lot of Swedes, a lot of Norwegians, different cities, different cult. We lived in downtown Oslo, but we were speaking English more frequently. We lived in an apartment with a bunch of other imports. It was awesome. It was so much fun.
I just realized, sorry, I was just looking at this while you were talking. I just realized you played for the same coach that I played for in Mangalore, Dave Livingston. So
Yeah.
he went to, because as like for those who are listening, you have Lawrencegog, you have Mangalore, and you had Vålerenga, which were all in Oslo. So within 20 minutes of each other. Oslo, great city, by the way. So I found it so clean. And maybe you can comment on this too, because I found that the Norwegians spoke better English than us. Like they use vocabulary that like we would never use. Like it was so clear and just like,
Yeah, they're like the Canadians that correct Americans on our English all the time. They do. They speak great English. The big change I think from the Finns are, in my experience, are a little bit more shy and reserved. Like the Swedes and the Norwegians were more outgoing. They would speak English first and they would engage and um, I mean we just had a blast. We had a good team. We had great ownership. We just had good dudes away from the rink, and it made it really fun.
I mean, for someone overseas, like that's always at the end of the day, if you guys are winning, you have a good group, treated well, that makes the experience worthwhile, I would say. What led to you retiring after that season? Like you obviously were still young. Were you just ready to move on, get into coaching, or did you get the opportunity? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, it was. I I maybe talked to a few people who asked if I was interested in coaching when I returned back to the U.S. after the season, and my wife was pregnant. We were going to have our first child, our son Louis, and it's kind of like the conversation is, does your wife stay back? She wasn't in love with having our child abroad. If she stays back, do you play and then she joins you mid-season? And I did not want to be away for that. That played a part in it. I was still considering going back. Most of our team was headed back, and then this coaching thing came up, and I think the Fargo Four, or no, it was the Sioux Falls Stampede. I had a conversation with Kerry Eads at some point for an assistant coach, just which I kind of got me more excited as I prepared for that. Midget hockey was a thing I wasn't familiar with, but there was some openings there, and then like as the summer went along, there was an opening at St. Cloud State. Um, again, I didn't have a resume. I hadn't coached outside of summer camps really ever in my life. And I I think Coach Motzko took a chance on me. Handed me off to Mike Gibbons, who there was probably no one better to learn from at the time for me. Um, and as soon as I was hired, I hit the ground running, took off recruiting, and haven't looked back really. It's been an incredible, I mean, north of 10 years right now, uh, trying to become a better coach.
What are the things maybe you felt those first couple of years working as an assistant from playing that you learned or had to learn or maybe you didn't know as much about that, for anyone listening that's, maybe playing or thinking of getting into coaching one day, like what are a couple things that came to you that you're like, oh, I didn't think about that when I played, or I didn't know about this kind of.
Um, oh, I came back and when my first year, there was players on the team that I had played with. So that was an interesting dynamic. I think that it's coaching is once you're in it, it's a lot different than how you maybe perceive it as a player. I gained a new appreciation for the work, the preparation, the long conversations that are had around lineup, how they advocate for you in travel and meals and scheduling and uh, all of it, training. Um, we see the guys that show up to the rink. They have a practice plan. For the bulk of the week, and then they do some video. They try to help us develop and grow areas of our game, and then change the lines on the weekend. It's so much more than that. I think that the fun part though is it I learned that a staff, like a dynamic of a staff, is very much that like a team. There's different personalities that come together, and all they do is try to figure out what works best for the team. And you do the same things that you did with your college roommates in a different office at the rink. You laugh, you tell great stories, you work hard, you disagree, uh, it's all of it, but you try to come up with the best solution and you come up with it together uh, and you walk forward as a team.
And you stare at a computer screen for the longest times ever. The amount of video, like I remember my transition, like I was like, holy hell, like this every game, it's this long, and then you got to go look back and do the clips and then prepare for your meeting. Like telling people about it, like there's some people I think I've scared away because I'm like, you have no idea how much video and actually like work it is if you don't have a video coach at your disposal. So
Well, it's good for me. I mean, again, like I don't know I was a different type of player in terms like when I got in you know, to coaching, I didn't know a lot of systems. I just probably played more on instinct than anything. And I was like, shoot, I should have probably listened and, just opened my ears more. And because I really was never a huge student of the game. I love to play it, but when I began coaching, I was like, a lot of the things that were being talked about were foreign concepts to me, and you kind of like I had to 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 stick with it and be of value to the players. I had to learn, and thankfully there's a ton of good people that are willing to share their time and help bring a young coach along.
speaking of people like that, so throughout your coaching career, you have worked at St. Cloud State University, University of Minnesota, which has probably one of the best logos ever. Like when I think of Minnesota hockey, I think of the Gopher logo and maybe that M. I don't know. That's just me being Canadian, maybe. But one thing I thought was cool, just doing some research on you, is you ended up working with Coach Motzko there for 10 years straight. And that's not even including the playing for him at St. Cloud. But as a coach, you worked with him for 10 years straight. He took you to Minnesota when he went there. Um, Maybe talk about kind of his impact on your coaching career and maybe the relationship you guys have built over the years.
I mean, geez, I've probably spent more time around Coach Motzko than I have my own father, as you look back on the last 40 years. And he's been just incredible. Um, from how I arrived on the campus of St. Cloud State, our journey through my playing career for him, him bringing me back, and you got to understand and appreciate the patience it takes for uh, someone like him with a program that was having success at a high level to work with a young coach. Understand that recruiting is going to take years until you maybe get some dividends. Um, that he it just worked. And we trust, the trust is there, the appreciation for one another is there. The move from St. Cloud State, which is his alma mater as well, to the rival Minnesota, I think was certainly difficult, but it was easier to go through it together. Um, we had an absolute blast. And yeah, it's weird because now, he's a coach, I'm a coach. We're peers in a sense, I guess, in terms of being head coaches in college hockey. But I look at him the same way. I speak to him and will always call him coach out of respect. And uh, we're just really fortunate. I mean, think of having the opportunity to work for someone like that for so many years and in different settings. He's been able to hire tremendous staff, so there's a lot that goes into that too. Yes, Coach Motzko is the main reason that we're all there, but it's the Ben Gordons and Mike Gibbons and the so many others that you work alongside. Coach Motzko comes with a tremendous group of friends in college hockey who, when you're with Coach, they're probably more likely to give you their time and help bring you along, especially when they see you on the road. So you just sometimes in life, I think you just get really lucky, and I was able to luck out and have his mentorship and have his continued mentorship.
Obviously, you two worked well together, and one of the things that I thought was pretty cool throughout your 10 years is in the 21-22 season there with Minnesota, you guys end up going to the Frozen Four, which, is a tremendous feat. It's a very good tournament, I would say, in itself, but it's also single game elimination. So anyone who doesn't know the NCAA playoffs, like you're can't afford to really lose throughout this. It's not a best of seven. It's winning, playing against all these top teams and getting there. Maybe talk about that season itself, and then also the experience of reaching the Frozen Four.
Yeah, I think we did it at St. Cloud. We had the Hobie Baker winner and Drew LeBlanc, my first year coaching. And again, I had not recruited a single player on that team. I just kind of hopped on a runaway train, and 9 months later, we were out in Pittsburgh playing in St. Cloud State's first ever Frozen Four, and that was really rewarding to celebrate that with the community and really break through to the national stage. Minnesota it's different. It's a different program, one where it was completely unfamiliar in terms of the administration and some of the inner workings, but we figured it out. And it was cool because I got to watch Coach Motzko put his own spin on a program on a big stage. We were able to watch fans begin to show up and fill the rinks again. We went through COVID together, went through so many other things together. But when you accept a job and you get boots on the ground and try to start figuring it out, how do we fix this and get this thing, and it's not even fix, it's kind of renovate because it's always been a great program. Um, but then when you're at the Frozen Four, I think you're sitting there and you obviously you want to win the dang thing, but after the season you look back and you say, okay, we're doing some good things. Some things are working here. And that's reassuring for sure.
And after that run, you ended up making a change. You end up becoming a head coach there. I believe the first year you went to Augustana, you guys were still D3, if I remember correctly.
We didn't even have a rink. So we were a nothing.
Okay.
We were a complete
We were
bench
just
and
we were just a name.
yeah, so there was when I accepted this job, it was kind of like getting married on a blind date, I think, because there was a university that didn't have a rank or a program, and there was a head coach that was being hired that had zero head coaching experience. So we kind of had to just trust in each other and know we'd find our way forward. Um, but yeah, I mean, it happened fast. I think not too long after the Frozen Four, I accepted this job, bought a house down here in Sioux Falls. Um, moved the family, and then you had a year's time. I spent a whole year trying to find 27 guys to help us play in year one. It was the perfect time to do it. I mean, we were able to bring two students that first year who were injured or taking a red shirt. So I had two athletes that were kind of waiting, and they were our like the pioneers representing the hockey team. And then right at the conclusion of that college season, we probably had 12 to 14 players recruited, and then the portal opens, and then you have to fill the rest of your team, which is wild. Uh, there's not a very long recruiting process. Kids are showing up in the portal. You're calling. I was talking them out of selling insurance to come for a scholarship and one more year on the rink. We had guys. I mean, I've said it a lot. I mean, we had six provinces, eight states, and four countries on the team, and it was just crazy. And when they arrived on campus in the fall, we still didn't have a rink, um, and we were getting dressed out of semi trailers. We had two semi trailers at the youth rink, which is all part of our story. And but it's all you can do is laugh as you're going through it.
Well, I've seen highlights of your guys' games now, and you have a very nice arena. So I would say
Yeah,
that you've got some
it's worth the
upgrades
wait.
there. I had Brett Riley on maybe like 2, 3 months ago, and he obviously went to Long Island University, kind of like yourself, had to build a program up. Now I believe he just took a job at Ferris State, if I remember correctly. But um, I assume you spent a lot of hours, whether it was on the phone, in the car, going to maybe see games and stuff like that. Especially that first year, as you mentioned, you guys were just a school with a name and no program exactly yet. So maybe talk about how you spent that year building the program, like what types of players you were looking for, the types of recruits that you want to have at Augustana.
I mean, I think in your first 4 or 5 years, I think the biggest thing is you have to get the foundational stuff, and you can't skip steps in terms of building a culture and way you go about your business, how you represent your community, and show up for academics. We're the only Division I sport on a campus that has Division II and Division III athletics. Like there's so they had no experience with anything Division I. We wanted to make sure we put uh, we made a good first impression on this campus and this community. The only way you do that is you have to recruit your culture, the type of kid. And culture for me is just how they connect and value one another, and share a vision and how you attack hockey. It's just it. You go and you try to get the best people you can. That's got to be the priority, and then you try to get the best player, the best person, the best player, and it's there's that pendulum. Uh, you can get an okay kid that's a great player, or or you get a great kid that's not not that good. Like you try to get the best of both worlds, and any team you've probably experienced it. When your best players are your best people, good things are going to happen. And that's been my experience, whether it's the Drew LeBlancs or the Nick Dowds or the Ben Myers or the Brock Fabers. Your best teams, they got to have great dudes leading the way that can play the game. But there's 60 plus other teams looking for the same thing. So that's where the challenge uh, therein is where it lies. So
No, and you mentioned too, like the portal, like talking to some other NCAA coaches, like there's some schools obviously offering a lot more things than others. So then it becomes a competition of, sometimes you don't have the resources to prize someone when they're going to get this money elsewhere and stuff like that. But I think you made a great point with finding the guys with great character and then obviously the skills to play on the ice as well. And just in your first 2 years, I would say like you guys have made tremendous progress. Maybe I hope you see it the same. Like I saw just looking up your record there, like the first year, obviously a new program, under 500, I believe. And then this year you guys were over 500 by, I think like 6 or 7 games. So like, are you happy with the progression, I would say, especially in such a short amount of time?
yeah, I think there's some good things happening here on campus. I think, and it's a credit to our guys, and I think why it's worked is we're fortunate. You kind of think of, the player that's drawn to this opportunity. There's not a whole lot of guys that are saying, well, what can you give me? What can you do for me? I mean, I think there's an excitement about being the first. There's bravery in, hey, we don't really know how this is going to look, but um, I want to be the guy first through the door. Because it is difficult and it's a challenge and it's intimidating to a lot. And they look at a program without any history or tradition. I mean, these are this is the history and tradition. We're making it every day. Um, and there's enough of those guys that are wired the same way um, that they show up to the rink. They're very low maintenance. They compete their butt off. That's the biggest thing. You aim to be competitive early on in a program and feel like you're doing it the right way. And there's things you can build with. Um, I felt like our groups check those boxes, and our challenge now is to build on it. But we feel like we're heading in the right direction.
No, I definitely would agree with that. As I mentioned, you've seen tremendous progress over year one to year two, which is obviously the goal. And as you said, it's at least 5 years before you can maybe cement in whether it's the culture or the kind of foundation there, obviously with a new program. One thing I thought was also pretty cool throughout your coaching career, what you've been able to do is you've been able to coach for Team USA. So you've done it on two occasions, I believe. You did it this year, or sorry, you did it with Team USA, the U20, and you guys won gold. And then you've also been a
Yep.
head coach at the U18 level. So maybe talk about how those experiences came about. And obviously, as I mentioned, you went winning a gold medal with the U20 team at the end of the day. That's the goal.
Yeah, I think it's kind of your group of people. I've worked, so I'm familiar with a lot of USA hockey uh, folks through the USA Hockey Festivals, and I've worked everything from the 15 level to the 17 level. Coach Motzko is heavily involved in USA Hockey. You see him with him leading this year's group. That continues. Uh, David Carl and John Van Beesbrook provided me an opportunity for the last 2 years to work with the World Juniors. Um, the Holinka was John Van Beesbrook and Mark Boxer. They gave me opportunity to lead that group up in Edmonton. And it's just, you know what? It's just so awesome. It's first class, it's international competition. You're representing your country. You're working with some of the top players uh, that we have in the United States. You're working with tremendous staff. So there's so much that I mean, you just it's there's so much growth. Like that's what I come away with it every time. I just feel like shoot, like I should have been doing that, or man, I kind of doing that. I think I'm in the right area, but like maybe I can try this. And you just feel like, okay, I got better uh, from each event, and that's why I'm so hopeful I can continue to do some of these things as we move into the future.
Anytime I think you can represent your country, whether you're a player or a coach, like it's a great experience. It also allows you to maybe get more out there as for yourself as a coach, and the networking, the people you meet along the way, the reputation you slowly build. I mean, that's all what the sports business is about, and I hope for you that you can continue to do it. I don't want to keep you for too much longer. You've been very
Yeah.
generous with your time today. I got three more quick ones for you. I mentioned at the start of the podcast about the new eligibility rules. Obviously, major junior players being allowed to now play NCAA after playing in whether CHL of some sort. So, how has that maybe changed your recruiting process? Like, has it just kind of opened your um, pool to bigger areas, or
Yeah, I think it's definitely opened the pool. I think it's going to press some of, especially our staff, to make some phone calls, grow some relationships beyond traditional areas. Again, like there's a lot of players in North America, worldwide. I think you can be good in a few areas, but not all. Um, we're we're a small group of, we're a small staff trying to coach our group on campus too. So the challenge is to find out maybe where it makes most sense for you, where you feel the strongest and you have the strongest connections. Because I think too, like uh, identifying talent is not the challenge. It's learning more about these kids, finding the right people, guys that value the experience, will fit with the group you have on campus. And you have to have some people to lean on, um, and ask some questions and do some background work, to try to learn about these kids because, um, in traditional areas before this CHL stuff opened up, we were able to watch kids through high school and their youth teacher or their youth coaches, their school teachers, others in the community that come up around them. You lean on those people to bring you to a decision and make the best educated choice you can for your team. Um, we don't have those relationships that are at that level, in some of these CHL communities. Um, but I mean, that's our challenge is to try to learn and grow in some of those areas. But we still need to honor, at least in my vision, traditional areas. They might be changing, they might not. No one knows if they tell you they have the answer, they're not telling you the truth.
I'm curious how it's going to be like, over like a longer period, like say 10 years from now, like because right now it's like some guests I've had it on, they said the same thing. It's kind of like the shiny new toy. Like everyone's trying to get guys from the OHL who are, 19, 20 years old who obviously before weren't an option. So I'm curious how it's going to change the landscape of recruiting and also maybe other leagues, whether it's tier two junior leagues or D3 hockey, because like for me, like I think Canadians, you're either gonna if you play major junior, you're either gonna try to go D1, and if that isn't available, you might go U Sports then because of the packages you had from playing versus spending money to go D3. So
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting time, and I think a coach my age who hopefully is able to continue on in this business for a long time. I think, you just you just have to try to figure it out as best you can and advocate for things you believe in. Um, we have to be mindful too at the college level. We have to graduate some guys here that go on to be proud alumni, and you don't do that after 1 year. You got to get some guys that want to stick around, and there's a lot of components that go into it. But, um, it's an interesting time. But we'll all figure it out, and we're going down to Florida here in a few days, and it might even change a little more. But, um, in time, it'll.
and speaking of kind of you mentioned it there, like hopefully you'll be doing this for a long time. So it led me to my next question. So thank you for the great transition. Maybe where you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years. Do you have any personal goals that you hope to obtain as a coach?
I I love where I'm at. There's very few that have had the opportunity to be a part of something, like I have been. I have a great staff. I have some kids I'm really excited about. We have some guys coming into the program that I'm really excited about. Um, my family loves it here. To be honest, like I've told you, I've never looked too far beyond. Uh, I want, to continue to grow this program, and I don't know that there's a cap on Augustana University in the city of Sioux Falls. I think, uh, there's something special about it, and I'm not just saying that. There's a reason it's one of the fastest growing cities in America. Um, and for now, we want to see how far, we can take this thing and how quickly we can get there.
And lastly, here, before I let you go, what is one piece of advice or multiple pieces of advice you would give the younger generation out there? So if you're speaking to these young athletes, whether they're 15, 16, 17 years old, what's one or multiple piece of advice you would give them?
Probably just put all your energy into getting better, in the moment. Don't waste anything. Uh, don't be bummed if it doesn't go your way one day or 1 week or 1 month. If others have a different path, then you don't worry about it because your path can ultimately end up leading further than theirs. I think you just have to live where your feet are and enjoy your teammates and the people that you come across, during your journey. Um, and at the end of the day, I think kids, and parents now, uh, they're so driven on getting to professional hockey or Division 1 hockey or Division 3 hockey. Uh, this is such a great sport, even if you never get there. I think you have to truly appreciate hockey for hockey. Uh, there's guys that have never played hockey until they reach old timers, and they fall in love with the sport, and love it all the same as the rest of us who've played beyond high school. Um, don't don't overvalue playing beyond certain levels. Just enjoy the game for what it is while you're where you're at.
No, two really good things there. Live where your feet are, like be in the moment. I've had multiple guests on say that, and I think it's so true. And yeah, just appreciating the game of hockey, no matter what level you are at. Um, it's a great sport. It brings lots of things in your life, whether it's just simple enjoyment or careers, both playing, coaching, managing, whatever it may be. So, um, Garrett, I appreciate you taking the time here. Best of luck down in Florida there. As you mentioned, you might have to rent some golf clubs when you get down there if weather provides. But I appreciate you doing this. Talking a lot about your new program there at Augustana, and yeah, best of luck and continue with the progression there. You guys have been great the past 2 years. And if there's anyone in the Sioux Falls area who wants to go see a game in a great brand new arena, you know where to go.
We got a spot for you. Come on over to Midco.
Thanks again. And yeah, for all the listeners out there, go give them a follow on social media. Check out a game if you're in the area. And until next week, choose and ciao.